Hello, got something very exciting to share with you today, and I have created a Discord for our community. So the way the Discord is going to work is basically you upload a photo and I will do a live edit, a live review, a live critique of your image. Just type in the text what you would like to see me do to your image. You might have two images that you want me to combine together. Okay, do some multiple exposures, add some birds in. Okay, you name it, I will have a go at doing it. So I'm going to quickly explain how to do it. Now there's an app called Discord. Discord is available on both desktop and on mobile. It's completely free to use. I'm going to be pretty strict with it. Okay, so if you want to get into my Discord, leave some comments. I want to know who you are before I let you into my Discord. So I will let in a few regulars first. Keep commenting on my videos. Let me get to know you. And then eventually you can start submitting photos to me and I will edit them live while you're there. Now this is Discord. This is what it will look like on a desktop. Mobile version, very similar. Okay, so all the functions are exactly the same, whether you're on mobile or on desktop. When you open it up, you will probably see it'll look a bit more like this. You're going to see some messages and some photos. So this is my own personal Discord that I share with some friends. Okay, so like I said, I want to know who you are before I let you into my Discord. So leave comments on my videos. Okay, I'm not going to let random people in. Everyone who's in my Discord, I know, I like, we all get along well, and that's how Discord is going to work. I have a few channels in here where I will share editing tips that you won't see on YouTube. Okay, some of us will share some of our favorite locations. And there's lots of little channels in here that we can share and talk. And more importantly, if you want me to edit one of your photos or you want some ideas on what to do with a photo, chuck it in this one. Photos for YouTube. I'll give them a little bit of a critique. I will give them a little bit of an edit and I'll just put my spin on it. But it might give you some ideas on, what you can do to your images rather than being stuck in that rut of not knowing what to do with your images. I'll give you some ideas to just help you on your way. So that's it. Link in the description. Join the Discord. Leave comments if you're not already a regular. And I'm looking forward to seeing some images that we can start editing in some live streams. So thank you and enjoy. Hello, we're here. We're live. We've played the intro. Okay, now we'll just check the audio first to make sure that our audio, I need to look at the camera. Check that the audio is working. So hello, Linda Rossi and Diane. Hello, welcome. Welcome to a live stream, and I've got some of your photos I'm going to play with, which is very exciting. So we'll start off with the audio first, make sure everything sounds okay. Just checking my end, everything looks good. Now, I have had troubles with Photoshop, so bear with me. My laptop's getting old. That's all there is to it. My laptop's getting old. I've had issues with Photoshop, so hopefully everything runs smoothly tonight. We'll see how we go. So hello and welcome. Welcome to I Edit Your Photos stream. So as you saw from the intro, Discord, okay, get on board. Again, all good, I thank you. G'day Pam, hello, welcome. So the sound is okay. Video is okay. Yeah, like I said, I've had issues with the laptop recently, so let's just hope everything runs smoothly. Once we start dealing with multiple layers, then things could get a little bit out of control. So yes, Discord, for all the new people, basically, if you keep commenting on my videos, friends on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff, once I get to know you, then I will, you can join the Discord. You can send me an invite. If I don't accept it straight away, it might just be because I'm not sure who you are just yet. Okay, so yeah, Discord, I want to know who you are before I let you into the Discord because I want it to be safe. I want it to be a nice, safe place for everyone. G'day, Ultimate, how are you? Welcome, welcome. All right, let's get started. Let's get started. Now, for those people that are in the Discord, I have put this raw file into our Discord. So everyone in the Discord has got this raw file and they can have a play with it. And Ultimate has had a play with it. And who else had a play with it? I can't even remember now. Ultimate, and I think it was Kerry, Kerry's not here at the moment. So I won't touch her photos yet. But yeah, so that raw file is in the Discord. So if you want to get in the Discord, leave comments, say hello, join in, get to know everybody, let us get to know you, and then you can come into the Discord and see how awesome it is, because Discord is good. Discord is good. Okay, now I have a folder in here, and I have a folder called Discord. So these are the photos that have been submitted by a few of the people in my Discord. And what we're going to do is go through. Now, I might save Ultimates till last, because I've never done an editing photo of a dog in fog. So I've struggled, and I've got some thoughts on those photos, which would help with the editing side of things. So we might do them last, because I think they're going to take the longest, because I'm going to play with them and we'll see what happens. I have finished your photo, Diane. I have finished the photo. Oh, I know, Diane, let's get on to Diane's photos first. Now, Diane, these photos are bloody awesome. I love them. But they're too small. They're just a little bit too... Yeah, I'm going to make you wait, Ultimate. They're just too small. So they came through, I think this one came through at about 50 kilobytes, so 50 KB. When the files are too small, they're very hard to edit, which is going to be a good point. And I'll do a video on it one day about JPEGs versus RAWs. When you go to edit a JPEG, you just can't pull information out of it. Okay, so because they're a very compressed JPEG file, they're very hard to pull details out. And I don't want to do these photos an injustice. They're too nice, and I can tell exactly how good these are. You know, like your highlights are under control. There's plenty of detail up there in the sky, but it's just that they're compressed so much we've lost a lot of information. It was 7 megabytes, okay, because the ones in the Discord only came through very small. The ones in the Discord, if I go to info, they've come through at 2000 by 1000 pixels. And yeah, they were about, one of them was 50 megabytes, the other one was about 45 kilobytes, KB, 50 KB and 45 KB. So look, I will leave them for now because I know how good they are. I'm not going to edit the way they've come through. So I don't know whether Discord's done its funny thing or whether something's happened, but yeah, they've just come through very compressed. They have, and they're too good. They're too good to try and get detail that's not there. Yeah, there is a video in Discord. So for the people that are new to Discord, I did do a video in Discord that shows you how to upload a RAW file. Okay, there's a way of compressing your RAW files. So then they'll come through as a DNG. So if we have a look at Ultimates, for example, this is the full resolution. This is a RAW file. Okay, so you can see from here with our white balance, we've got, and this is the giveaway between a RAW and a JPEG. If we have a look at Diane's, your white balance isn't the same. It'll only go up to 100 and minus 100. Okay, with your RAW files, we've got the full color range. Okay, you can choose your cloudies, your daylights. So they've come through as RAW files, but yeah, they've come through as JPEGs. So look, there's plenty of time to do them. Like I said, I want to see these. Like, these are really, really nice images. If I turn that off, like I can see what's in there. I'm just going to give it a quick, because yeah, YouTube compression will make it look okay. I'm guessing that's a train. I really want to see this. I really want to see this. This looks awesome. And this one as well, very, very nice. But yeah, I don't want to pull apart a JPEG file to try and get details. It'll just, yeah, it won't do your photos justice. So I'll leave them for now. Yeah, send me another message in Discord and we'll see if we can sort it out. All the other photos are good though. So these ones are Pam's. Pam wanted me to put the moon into these photos. Okay, so again, if I just press I on the keyboard, that's going to show me how it was shot, camera settings. It's going to show everything. Okay, so this one here, so we're shot at 100mm to get the moon. First thing I would say, when you want to do an exposure blend, if you want to blend a moon in, shoot at 400. Get the moon as big as you possibly can, just to get some more detail in it. So that's what I generally do, is I'll zoom right in on that moon, get the moon as big as I possibly can. So then we blend it into the other one. It's just going to just give it more detail, basically. So we'll start with Pam's. We're going to start with Pam's. That Discord video was a big help. Yeah, look, for the people that are in the Discord, I will keep uploading little helpful hints for Discord. Like, there's lots of little things that you can do in Discord. Yeah, the 10 megabyte limit, kind of, we can still put raw files in there. JPEGs are fine. It's just these ones are a little bit too compressed. And like, look at that. I know it's going to be good, so I want to do it on a larger file, so I've got more info. Where are we going? Back here. So yeah, Discord, for people that are new, Discord's good. Trust me. It's no ads. It's free. It's share photos. Speak to people that you know and you like, rather than random people that just want thumbs up and likes. So what we'll do, let's start with Pam's. So Pam has sent me the raw files. So essentially the raw DNGs, we've compressed them down to a DNG file. For the sake of YouTube editing, you're not going to notice the difference between a full raw file and a DNG. All the information's exactly the same. If we were to pixel peep, we might notice a little bit of difference, but for editing, this is all we need. All right, let's get started. So Pam in the Discord, she wanted me to blend the moon in with these other photos, which is good because this is nice and easy. We'll start off with a nice and easy one. Now, what I'll do, first thing I'm going to do is select all of them, because what I want to do is sync all of my settings so they're all uniform. So we've got the same white balance, everything kind of looks similar. So first thing I'm going to do is let's change it to Adobe Landscape. I'm not going to use any of my presets. Let's just do it all as Adobe Landscape. Let me just check the stream that we're running okay. Like I said, I've had a lot of issues with especially Photoshop. So let's just try and get through this quickly before the stream does crash. Okay, so I'm going to sync all the photos that I want to blend, just so we've got the same white balance, same settings, everything looks uniform. So I'm going to bring down my highlights just a little bit. We don't need to, the images are already nice and dark, which is good. You've preserved your highlights, which is what I always tell people. Preserve your highlights. Shadow detail's easy to pull out. It's much easier to pull out shadow detail than it is to recover highlights, because once they're gone, they're gone. Now, our white balance, what I'm going to do is just going to cool it down a little bit, because they are shot in blue hour. And then that'll do for now. Actually, let's just apply our lens correction, remove chromatic aberration, sync all of them. Now, I know that they are taken with different lenses, so we'll have a quick look when we get into the other images. Okay, so that's the shot for our moon. Okay, let's have a quick look at this one. Yep, good, like that. Love the color. Yep, that one too. This one here, we could probably just, I'm going to add a bit of contrast. I want to get that sky looking nice. Nice big dust spot there. Yeah, dust spots are just one of those things that I just use my Band-Aid tool. Just make that a bit bigger. Just put that over there. Oh, I don't want all this. I don't need all that. Just put the Band-Aid on it. Okay, get rid of that dust spot. Now, I only clear dust spots if they're noticeable. I know there is a tool in here that scans and the visualize. It's going to make the stream crash. Okay, I'm not using any of the AI stuff. If you can't see it, you know, don't worry about it. Okay, there it is there. Opacity, 100%. Yeah, they just did an update to Lightroom recently, so don't use AI. Don't say, I untick all of these. I normally do these in Photoshop, to tell the truth. The Band-Aid tool is the best one. Okay, that one, I don't like using AI. Again, it makes everything run slow. So yeah, with dust spots, if I can't see them, I don't go looking for them. Okay, if they're not obvious, if I was to print the image out, then I'd go over it with a fine-toothed comb, but just for a quick edit, That looks fine. I kind of like the white balance on that one more. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to cool this one down a little bit. Add a bit of magenta to it. Let me get rid of the writing so that's not so distracting. On the heavy stuff tonight, Coke Zero. Okay, so just getting these two images kind of roughly where I want them. Okay, this is the personal preference part. This is what I would say is the hardest part. Get your starting images where you want them, because putting the moon on is going to be the easy part. All right, so we'll leave those two as they are. Now with the moon, what I'm going to do is I'm going to crop in this moon, because all we want is the moon. I don't want everything around it. I just want the moon. So I'm going to crop right in. Now, there's a little bit of noise there, not too bad. Somewhere around about there. Let's take down our whites a little bit. Try and get some of that detail back in the moon. Give it some contrast. Just darken it down a little. Just trying to get the moon roughly where I want it. So I treat them all as separate images to start with, but get them looking as similar to each other as possible. So I want that moon to retain its orange that we've got there. Let me take these warnings off so we can see it a bit better. Okay, so the moon's still got the orange glow that's going to match everything. Okay, so now I'm just going to select all those three, edit in. I'm not going to open them as layers because we're going to do them. We've got two different images we're going to add the moon on. I've had the camera cleaned. No more. Oh, good job. Yes, good. I do have a cleaning kit here, but yeah, you're better off getting it done professionally than doing it yourself. It was fine with my old cameras, I didn't mind doing it, but with the new camera, I will get that professionally cleaned until it's about 10 years old, then I'll do it myself. Okay, so when it comes to putting moons in, first thing we want to do is actually remove this moon, because that is just going to interfere with us. So again, I'm just going to use my Band-Aid tool. Actually, I just thought of something then. Let me quickly grab this thing. Let me quickly grab that, so then you can see where I'm pointing a bit easier. Okay, so Band-Aid tool. I'm just going to make that Band-Aid tool a little bit bigger. We'll zoom in on that moon. You'll see a little bit of a glow around it. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect, because we will kind of tidy it up as we go. But yeah, the Band-Aid tool does a pretty good job. It's not doing a great job in this case, but we'll deal with that soon. Okay, and then same with this one. We're just going to zoom in on that moon, make that one a bit bigger. Okay, so let's just get rid of the moons for now. Then what we're going to do is I am just going to literally click and drag with my move tool, click and drag that one onto there. We'll go to this image, click and drag that one onto there. Wait till we get our little symbol. Okay, and then I'm done with my moon. Okay, I can get rid of that now. So now I've got those two moons onto my two images. Just going to line it up roughly where we want it. Now over here, all this has changed. Why is all this changed? I'll make my layers a bit bigger so I can see my layers. And blending type, we can either use lighten or screen. In this case, the lighten works better. All depends on how dark your sky is. If the sky was really dark, then the screen might work better. So just sort of hover between the two. In this case, the lighten does work a little bit better. And then we can kind of place that roughly where we want it. Now you'll still see through it, okay? The lighten is just going to get rid of the darkest parts from underneath. Okay, so I'm just kind of lining it up roughly where we want it. Now I'm going to go back to normal. Grab my magic wand tool, and the magic wand tool, if I just sample there, it's going to... Now the magic wand tool, what it does, it samples colors. Okay, so in this case, I've got my tolerance set to 30. This continuous, I have that ticked. I'll get to why when you untick that later. When we do a poster, that's when we'll untick it. But you know, if you just want to select the color, the magic wand tool, select the color and delete, and then it disappears. Okay, so now we've placed our moon there. We still get a little bit of a halo around the edge of the moon. But what I'm going to do is press Control or Command and J and make a copy. And then with that bottom layer, I am going to apply that, which one was it? Lighten. And with the top one, I'm just going to slowly start to bring that down. Just until we sort of hide the back. Just have the background coming through a little bit, because then it's going to blend in a little bit better if you have a little bit of that background. And then finally, with that top, I don't like the edge around our moon. So what I'm going to do is create a layer mask, grab a brush, grab a black brush, make it fairly soft. And I'm just going to paint around the edges of one of them. So using a black brush, so I'm blacking out the edge of that moon because I don't want that. And then I'm going to do a layer mask on this one. And I'm going to do the same thing. This time I'm going to be a little bit more careful. Get right in there. And we're just going to paint out the edge of that moon. Probably could have just feathered my selection a little bit. Would have been a bit easier. So just paint around the edge of that. Get rid of that black spot. Okay, yeah. When I did my selection for the moon, I probably should have just done a feathered selection. Probably would have been a bit quicker. And look, I'm no Photoshop expert by any means. There's probably people out there saying, why didn't you just click this button and have that do it? Okay, I'm a bit more old school. I don't use Photoshop much these days. But yeah, just by using that layer mask and blacking out the bits we don't want, we'll just make it look a little bit nicer. Okay, so that's kind of roughly there. And then if we select both of those layers, Control or Command and T, we can make it as big or as small as we want. Okay, and just kind of, let's make it nice and big just to sort of really make it stand out. Okay, and then finally after that, so you can see that's our top layer, that's our bottom layer. We could probably, if we were to hide those two, we could probably tidy that up even more. Grab my, let's just tidy that up a little bit more. You know what, let's, where's my eyedropper tool? I'm going to sample that color there. Grab a paintbrush, make my paintbrush fairly big. Just paint it over the top. So then we still get a bit of a glow from the moon. Okay, and that's roughly how you don't want it too bright. You don't want it too bright and too fake looking. So then what we can do, if we just highlight those two and we'll just merge those two layers. So now we've just got the one layer that does it. Okay, and then what I normally do, once I've done my first blend, once I've actually put the moon on top of each other, and got it looking reasonably good. I don't know how big you want it. I'm sort of overdoing it just to sort of show you what we can do. Then what I do is start doing my adjustments on top of the blend. Okay, so for example, this is where you might come down to your curves adjustment, give it a bit of an S curve, and then it's affecting the whole image. So then you're not just affecting either your moon or your background layer, you're affecting the whole image. So then it will make it look a little bit more natural, because now that you've blended your photos together, now when you do adjustments, it's adjusting the whole image as one. Okay, and that's kind of, yeah, that's how I would blend that moon. So what I'll do is I will go to Layer, Flatten Image, and I'll just save this. Let me save it as a JPEG. Save that as a JPEG. And what I'll do is I'll put them in the Discord once we're finished. So I'll re-upload the file into Discord, and then we'll do the other moon a little bit differently. I have had the camera cleaned, no more dust spots. Discord video was a big hit. Just checking the chat, okay? Just let me know if the audio drops out, or if anything goes. We seem to be running okay at the moment. I want to try and get through these quickly just to make sure that the stream does hold together. What did I do there? Okay, so that's that image. So I can close that down now. I could save it, then it saves it into Lightroom. You know what, I'll do that. Let's just save it. Then it'll save a copy in Lightroom. So if I was to go back to Lightroom, There's our blended image along with our original. Okay, so as you can see, I've just made it a bit more punchy. Or was it this one? That one. Okay, so just made it a bit more punchy. Made the moon nice. And if you're going to replace a moon, you might as well replace the moon and go all out. Okay, so now we'll go on to this one. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my magic wand tool. Let's select the moon. So see how it's only selected certain parts. So all I'm going to do is just keep sampling. If we hold our shift key, that'll add a plus. And just keep sampling until it's selected the whole moon. And then this time we're going to do a selected mask. And I'll show you a little cool trick we can do in selected mask. So this would have been easier the first time. So you can see that it's selected the moon. If we come down to our shift edge, we can actually shift the edge negatively. So then what it'll do is it'll bring the edge in and you're not going to get that black line around it. So I'm going to shift my edge down a fair bit, press OK, and then that should create it with just a mask. So then it saves you erasing around the edge. So shift edge will bring the edge of your mask in a little bit. And then we can delete that layer. So now we've got that moon and we don't even have to paint it. What did I do? Control and 0 will take me back out. And again, we'll just sort of tidy up the sky behind that moon. And again, I'm going to grab my eyedropper tool. I'm going to sample a color around about there, just so our background looks kind of nice. And we want to do it on our background layer. Okay, that's too much. Let's turn the opacity down. Turn it down to about 10%. Slowly paint it in. Okay, then we can move our moon. So Control or Command and T will transform and moon. They are really nice photos, Pam. You've done well. You've done well. And you've done everything right. Like this is what you do. There's no way you can get a moon and your foreground in one exposure. It doesn't happen. If you try and expose for your moon, everything's going to be dark. If you try and expose for your foreground, the moon will blow out. That's just because the moon is so bright. Occasionally when it's covered by cloud on, occasionally when it comes up over the horizon, it is covered by cloud. You can do it if there's enough light in the sky. And in this case, I can see that there's not quite enough light in that sky. So what I'm going to do, let me just get that one. What am I doing? I don't want to crop. I'm going to transform that. We'll just make that moon a bit bigger. Why is it going all the way out there? Let's see, if we just grab this tool, delete, and now if I try Control or Command and T, yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. We can make it as big or as small as we like. Okay, and then just kind of, yeah, like I said before, if you're going to do it, make it nice and big. So let's make that nice and big. Let's make it really big this time. Very important that you line up your highlights as well. So the light on the water, you don't want to, and I've seen, trust me, I've seen people do it. Let's just quickly cancel that. You don't want to do something like this. Put your moon over here because it looks cool in the corner. Okay, you want to put the moon where the light is. Okay, so that's one thing, and it's a very simple thing, but follow the light, which we'll get that in some of the other photos. Okay, so put the moon back where it was. Okay, yeah, I have seen people that they'll put a moon in and reflections aren't there and nothing sort of lines up. Okay, remember my terrible moon composites I did last year I sent. It definitely looked fake. This will be a great video to come back to and try again. Yeah, look, moons are pretty easy. The big one is cleaning up that background. As long as you clean up the background, and then once you've put it there, either lighten or usually it depends. I usually go between light and screen. Normal, it kind of looks a bit fake. Just by lightening it a little bit, it does blend into your background a bit better. So what I'm going to do, again, I'm going to press Control Command and J, make a copy. So this top one I will do as lighten. Okay, so there's the lightened moon. So the lightened moon just blends in with the background a bit better. And there's the full moon. Okay, so you can see that the one that's not blended, just it looks a bit fake. Okay, where by hitting the lighten button, it does just blend it a little bit into your background. But that's why you've got to hide your background. Okay, you've got to hide whatever was behind it. Otherwise, you'll see a white dot there. Okay, or you can do a bit of both. Have that one, then just drop the opacity of your normal one down to maybe 50%, just to give it a little bit of a glow. Okay, so that's how you do the moons. And then it's, you know, if we just sort of get both of those layers, you can make it as big or as small as you like. Okay, in this case, let's just make it a bit smaller so it looks a bit more how it actually was. Let's just go nice and small. Hopefully the stream doesn't crash. It's starting to do things. I think because the files are so big, because I know with the raw files, I think you guys have got, I know Ultimate's got the R7 with the 32 megapixels. Let's just make it a bit bigger, just to sort of fill out that glow. Somewhere around about there. Okay, and then just layer, flatten image. And again, then you start to do your adjustments after here. So grab your curves. You know, you might want to just brighten everything up. You might want to darken everything down. That's where the personal preference comes in. So if you blend it all first, get them as close to each other as possible, get everything kind of evenly exposed, color balanced, blend them together, and then start doing your adjustments. So then it's adjusting both your moon and your background together. Okay, you don't want to sort of adjust them differently and then put them together. G'day, Scotty, how are you? Welcome, Scotty. We're playing around with other people's photos today. So I'd like to get some of your photos too, Scott. You should, there's a link to the Discord in the description. You're more than welcome to the Discord. I think we all know you by now. So yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a hold of some of your photos and having a bit of a play. Okay, and then yeah, edit to personal preference. So the blending part is kind of the hard part. Clean up the background. That's probably the most important part with doing a moon. Just sort of clean up that background first and then put your moon on top. Okay, so once again, I'm just going to go layer, flatten image, and we will save as a JPEG. Okay, we'll close that down. Okay, so that's Pam's photos. Now, who's next? Linda Rossi. Linda Rossi's time. Hi all. Yeah, I just saw the link. It's not working. The link's not working. Damn it. I wonder why. I'll check it out later. It might be because we're live streaming, maybe. I'll double check the link. And I'll re-put it in there. It might, sometimes when you do a live stream, it doesn't like upload to YouTube instantly. So leave it with me. I'll keep checking. Trust me, I'm going to keep dropping this link. I'm pushing Discord, so you'll see the link plenty of times. Now, Linda Rossi. It was going to be a HDR panorama, wasn't it? Now, there is a function to do it directly in Lightroom. Let me try it and see if it works. So we wanted to do a HDR panorama. Bagara, how good is Bagara? These are really nice too. You've done well. I like these. Let me just put my clipping warnings on. Okay, that one's good. Okay, even that one's good. You haven't blown out the sky. So you could work for, if you don't blow, this is the importance of watching your histogram. If you watch your histogram, and your histogram isn't touching the right hand side, you don't even need to do multiple exposures. That one exposure will work. Okay, so that's really important. Watch your histogram, especially with landscapes. If you watch your histogram, it might look very bright on the back of your camera and your raw file might look super bright, but because we're not clipped, all that detail in the sky is there. We haven't lost any detail. Okay, so we could work with one file with that one, so we wouldn't need to do an exposure blend. But we will, because that's what we want to do. Now, let me just check these other two. Yeah, look at that. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, so that one we have blown the sky. Okay, so the telltale warning is, yeah, once you put your clipping warnings on. So that one we have blown the sky. So that means if we bring down our highlights, bring down our white, we've lost detail. Okay, we've lost that color there, and that's just going to become a white mess. So that one we definitely need to do an exposure blend on. And yeah, when your histogram's that close, sometimes it is easy to go over. It is easy to go over. So what we'll do, when it comes to doing a HDR merge and a panorama, don't edit your photo. You're wasting your time editing your photo before you stitch, because once you stitch it, all it's going to do is stitch your raw files. Okay, so even if we were to go in and straighten our horizon and do all our edits, the HDR merge and the panorama merge, disregard everything you've done. They're just working off the raw files. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're not going to edit anything yet. We're going to right click, photo merge, and HDR panorama. And it's saying that it can't do it. Unable to detect HDR exposure bracket, merge to non-HDR. Okay, so we can merge it to a non-HDR. Let's hit yes and see what happens, and then we'll do it manually. If this doesn't work, we'll do it manually. It's missing 2 pics. Yeah, you mentioned, so I'm guessing we're missing the rest of the beach. Did you try reloading them into Discord? Let me just check Discord. Yeah, there might be a limit per day. I know with Discord, especially new Discords, because Discord, they do keep everything safe. So they're not going to, if they see people uploading lots of things in one day, especially on a new Discord, they might just say, settle down. You can wait a bit longer before you start putting more in. But I didn't think there was a limit. We'll see. Okay, so it's, look, it stitched it together. Let's merge it and have a look. I untick everything here. I occasionally I'll go from spherical to cylindrical, but 90% of the time I'm just on the top one. I very rarely fill edges. The boundary warp can be good, especially when you have got a bit of a warp to it. So that one, we might give that a little bit of a boundary warp. Let's just get it up to about there. Fill edges I don't bother with. I think it uses generative fill, which is an AI thing, I think. But yeah, we're just going to crop out the edges. The auto settings, that'll give you an idea of what's going on. Again, it's going to merge a raw file. So what it's going to do, it's going to take our bright exposure, our dark exposure, blend those 2 raw files. So this is one of those cases where I usually say don't push your sliders. If you do a HDR merge, you can push those sliders as far as you want, because rather than pulling all of the information out of one raw file, it's tapping into both raw files. So you can push your highlights all the way down, and all it's going to do is sort of get your brightest exposure, start to bring it down, and then go, okay, there's nothing left. Then it'll grab your other raw file and start pulling information from that raw file. So whenever you create a HDR, which is what we've got here, this is where you can pull these all the way, and it doesn't do the funky things that a single raw file does. Okay, so if we take that all the way down, and that, or we don't want to go all the way up, and it starts to look a bit too HDR-y, but you can, because what it'll do is it'll start to pull information depending on which raw file you're dealing with. But yeah, just because you can doesn't mean you should. Scotty, happy to share a few raw files for you to edit. I've got a few new edits on my Facebook that I'd like your feedback on. Yeah, cool. That's what the Discord's all about. Discord's all about just put some photos in. I'll give you some feedback. Have a bit of a play with the edits. And look, the thing is that I'm going to edit the way I edit. Okay, I'm not going to... It's not right and it's not wrong. It's just the way that I do it. Okay, so that's sort of... That's where I'm coming from. I'm not going to say this is the way you should edit, because I don't want everyone editing photos the same as me. I want to see different photos. I want to see people do their spin on it. I'm just going to give you some ideas and see what happens. I tried numerous times, but it didn't work. Yeah, that's... Maybe try again. Do you get an error message, or does it just not like it, Linda? Does it say anything or it just doesn't upload? I can't say I've ever uploaded. So how big are all your files? Let me just have a quick look. See, they're not that big. They're 5, 3, 6, 4. Because I know I've uploaded a lot of photos to Discord in the past. Yeah, interesting. But it'll be the same process. Okay, so all you'll do is, yeah, click all of them. I'd reached my limit. Okay, so maybe there is a daily limit. Maybe there is a daily limit. I'll have a look at the settings in Discord. I might be able to change it, but I think that's where the Nitro thing comes in. If you try and upload too much, maybe that's where it's telling you to pay for more. Did you sent them all in one message? I know you can only do, well, there's 20 in there. No, they are all separate. Yeah, don't know. Maybe there is a limit. I'll deal with. I'll have a look into that. It could be that there is a limit. Yep, yeah. Maybe there's a limit per day. I'll have to have a look at Discord. But yeah, similar thing. You'll just, with your extra picture, try that. So highlight all of them. Right click, merge HDR pano. Okay, and then it should stitch them all together. Now, it's not going to do a great job because I can already see there's a line there where it hasn't stitched it perfectly. And this is where I'll normally give it a try in Lightroom first. If Lightroom doesn't work, that's when I'll take it into Photoshop. Okay, so Lightroom hasn't worked. What we're going to do is we're going to do it in Photoshop. So first thing I'm going to do, get all my images the same. So whenever I'm doing a, actually, let me just test you out here. When you do panos, your settings can't really change. So our 2 dark exposures, did you do these manually or was it like a under and overexpose? Yeah, so your aperture's changed as well. So that one's at 7.1. That one's at f8. That one's f8 at 90 seconds. That one's f8 at 120 seconds. Okay, so that's... Okay, so yeah, when it comes to merging panos, you do want all your settings to change. So they're all f8, which is fine. So what we're going to do is... It does make it easier because what the issue that we're going to run into, what I would have to do is merge these two together as a HDR, merge these two together as a HDR, then bring them into Photoshop. But because this one's a 2-minute long exposure, and that's why the highlights are blown, and this one's a 90-second exposure, it's going to throw it off a little. So it's not going to blend nicely together. But let me just give you a quick idea of what we're going to do. Do you have your Discord username so I can add you? Same request for those in the chat. Actually, you know what? I wonder if, let me see, let me see if I can put an invite. Oh, okay. It's in streamer mode at the moment. It's in streamer mode because I'm streaming. That might be why. You might not be able to join because I am in streamer mode and it's hiding. Okay, let's try it when the stream's finished. I'll double check that everything's working. It's probably because I'm doing a stream. Discord does come up that it is in streamer mode. So in other words, it's not going to share information while we're live and online. Okay, so again, there's probably a setting around it, but I want this place to be safe. I don't want to take any risks and unlock it. So let's just, yeah, you might have to wait till the stream finishes, Scotty, or have a look at my previous live stream. I think it was in my previous live stream. I did put a link in the previous live stream. That might have expired though. I think they're good for about 7 days before they expire. But yeah, I'll check it once the stream's finished. I'll reload it in there. But yeah, it could be blocked while I'm streaming is probably what's happening. So with these photos, what we need to do with HDR merges, we need to blend them first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to merge those two to HDR. I'm just thinking there's a better way of doing this. Okay, let's start. Let's get everything synced up first. Let's get it as close to each other as possible. So I'm going to put on all my lens corrections. I'm just going to make sure everything is kind of roughly where I want it. Now I said you didn't need to do this, but I'm going to do it because I just want to see what happens. Especially the white balance. The white balance is one that I do want to sync up. I'm going to get the white balance where I want it. That's a good sky. They're nice pictures, Linda. They're nice. I like them. They are nice. Yeah, they are good. Okay, so now I've synced them all together. What we're going to do, let's grab these two, merge HDR. So you can either do the whole merge, but again, Lightroom, yeah, see this is where it hasn't, like whenever you get cloud, I don't know how well you're going to see that on the stream, but the cloud just, it doesn't, you get the ghosting, which, yeah, I just don't do HDR images these days. I don't like HDR, so I'm going to do it old school. What I'm going to do, let me just get all these roughly where I want them. So let's get our two underexposed images roughly where we want them. See, when you shoot in manual mode with all your settings exactly the same, everything's going to be exactly. So this one, because we're at f8 at 30 seconds, the light is going to be slightly different than the f8 at 30 seconds. So, sorry, it was 7.1. That one's at 7.1, so it's letting in a little bit more light. Even though it's 30 seconds, it's going to be a little bit brighter than this one, which was shot at f8. So we'll try and get them as close as we can. And you know what? We probably don't even need those brighter exposures. We've probably got enough detail just in these two that we could, let me just brighten up that foreground a little bit. See, I think this is one of those cases you probably didn't need to do the multiple exposures. You could have just captured it all in one exposure. And I would have gone for this one. This is where you sort of, you weigh up, you know, do you want to do multiple exposures? Like if we have a look at that, you're fine. Your blacks aren't clipping, your whites aren't clipping, your histogram's kind of like perfectly where it should be. This one here, just slightly over. So if you had have done that one at 90 seconds as well, was that one 90 seconds? Yeah, so that one's 90 seconds, it's perfect. This one here has just gone up over to that 2 seconds, so that one is just a little bit too bright. So what we'll do, we'll work on the darker images, because the darker images, like I said, I'm happy with my shadows to be a little bit dark. So now my white balance looks off, too magenta. Let's just warm it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going to sync those two. Yeah, I think trying to merge these brighter exposures, you're just going to run into issues. You're going to run into issues trying to merge these two. I wouldn't waste my time. I would just say, all right, we're just going to work on the dark ones. I don't need that little bit of extra detail we've got in our brighter exposure. We're just going to push our shadows to the limit. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit noisy, but if you run it through the denoise, that denoise is fantastic, okay? If you have a look at the original image again, if I just go reset that quickly. Okay, so there is some clipping in the shadows, but look, they're black rocks. I know what Bagara's like. Those rocks are black, so I'm not concerned with having black rocks in the image. Okay, so I would be just working off those two exposures. And let's try a photo merge just with those two, a panorama, and see what sort of job it does. Here's mine for the Discord. Okay, I'll check that out. Worth getting up at 4 AM. Absolutely. We're going to do a trip up to Bagara soon. We are. Okay, that one has done a better job with our horizon. It's a little bit warped, but if we use the boundary warp, we might be able to fix that up a bit. So yeah, I'm one of these people that, like, I very rarely do multiple exposure panoramas these days. I tried one recently and it's too much work. It's too much work. It's too hard. I would rather try and get it all in one exposure, especially with panoramas. Panoramas are hard enough to stitch as they are. And then once you start doing multiple exposure panoramas, it does get tricky. But the trick is blend all your multiple exposures together first, blend them first, and then stitch them. So you'd have to, yeah, merge the two, then take them probably into Photoshop would be the best way. We're in Lightroom. Okay, so let's just wait for it to load. Okay, it's got that bow in it, but we can sort that out in Photoshop. You can do it in here, but look, I just don't like it. You go to your lens correction, go to manual. We'll put the profile on. That's not going to help. You can go into your manual lens correction and just play around with distortion. But then it does some really weird things. So you can take the distortion out of it, but then it distorts everything else. You're better off just taking it into Photoshop, which is what we'll do. So I've just kind of pulled out as much detail as I can. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the blacks back into the image. We're going to add the backs. The sky is very pretty in those, Linda. I'll have to get up at 4 a.m. one day and get, yeah, exactly. It's sunrises are good. You just get different colors at sunrises. Okay, straight horizons. This is the way I do it. Make a copy, Control or Command and J, make a copy. And then what we want to do is we want to come to Edit, and we want to go to Puppet Warp. Puppet Warp is just the coolest little tool. And then Control or Command and R for ruler. And what I'm going to do is, what is that? Discover. Go away, Photoshop. If I want your help, I'd ask. That's why people are here, because they're asking me. Okay, so Control and R ruler, and then I'm just going to click and drag, and that's going to put a line. Okay, so then that's going to be my guide to get my horizon nice and straight. And then the reason I make a copy, the Puppet Warp won't work on a background layer. You can unlock it, but I like to have my original, just in case something goes wrong. I've still got that bottom layer there. You will notice that I work with layers all the time. I like to keep my base layer. I always like to just keep that background layer there just in case things go wrong, and then I can just start again without going back into Lightroom, reopening it. I know a lot of people use smart objects. These days I don't bother with smart objects unless I'm going to print something. If I'm going to print something, I'll bring it in as a smart object. But if it's just to sort of play around and upload something, I don't bother. Okay, so Puppet Warp, and now what we're going to do is we're going to place some markers, and I'm just going to click along this horizon of the water, and wherever I can kind of see a little bit of a bend. Okay, there's a gap right there. Is it going to let me do it? Yep. So I'm just sort of clicking along the horizon. That one didn't work. You can zoom in even more if you want to, but just putting little markers on the horizon where that water is. And then what we'll do is, so where the water meets the horizon, now you've got to be careful with land, because, you know, this isn't your horizon down here. This is where the sand curls in. So you've almost just got to wing where you think the horizon will be. And I reckon it's probably hitting the line about there. And then I reckon it's about there. And then probably about there. And once you come up to here, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to put a line there. And then what we do is we grab these, click and drag, and we move them all onto that line. So now that's our guide for where our horizon is. So as I click and drag all of these, it's going to move all of those dots onto that line, which is moving our horizon onto that line. Now again, lots of different ways of doing it. This is Look, this is the way I find works the best. I've seen lots of people do it different ways, and that's the beauty of Photoshop. There's lots of different ways of doing it. This one works for me. That's how it works for me. How do you zoom in? I use my Alt button and then scroll wheel. So yeah, Alt button and then scroll. That's how I do it. In your preferences, without holding the Alt button, let me just quickly, this is where Photoshop starts to play up. Let me just check how the stream's holding out. Yeah, we're doing okay. We're doing okay. Oh, what happened? Did they all move? Yeah, so this is where it's just getting so old. It's getting old and it doesn't like it anymore. I'm just going to press the tick button. Let's see if we can just get it where we want, and then I'll show you how I zoom in and out. Okay, there we go. So Control or Command and 0 will take it back out to full screen. Control or Command and 1 is 100%. So that's one way of doing it. If you want to zoom into 100%, Control or Command and 1 will go to 100%. And then I just kind of check my horizon line, and look at that. That's how you get a nice straight horizon. Control or Command and 0. So yes, I use my Alt key, hold my Alt key, and then scroll on my mouse, and that zooms in. You can change it in your preferences, and it's under, let's have a look. It's called scroll wheel. Scroll with, I'll know it when I see it. Here, zoom with scroll. So if you have zoom with scroll ticked, you can just scroll on your mouse. Scroll your mouse and that will automatically zoom. I don't like it because I like to use my mouse to move things around. So I unclick that. So then if, you know, because every now and like if I'm scrolling now and it moves it up and down, where if you tick that, when you scroll, it'll zoom in and out. I prefer to be able to scroll, move everything up and down a little bit. I did do a video on preferences a while ago. That's just the way I like it. So it's going to be different for everyone. But yeah, Control and 1, 100%, Control 0, back out. That's probably the quickest and easiest way. And that sort of works with most images. And then if we want to get rid of that line, we can just click, drag, throw it out the top. Control R for ruler. Your ruler will disappear. Okay. And then now we've got a nice straight horizon. Now we can just sort of crop it in. Oh, what sort of a crop is that? And if we just go to ratio will let us just put it wherever we want. So in this case, I don't want too much blue sky. Okay, there's a nice little cloud up there. We'll keep that in. The rocks and the sand, I love the rocks and the sand. We'll just bring that edge in, bring that edge in, click. Click. Okay, and there's our pano. Okay, so that's looking pretty nice. Okay, so I don't need that background one. So there's the warp, and there's our nice straight horizon. So that is a cool, the puppet warp is really good. So we're going to go layer and flatten image. Well, I have never seen that, Neil. I've learned something. What is the name of that tool? So that's the puppet warp tool. So you go to edit, and it won't work on a background layer. You can, I think you can unlock the layer and then it'll work. So if you go to edit, puppet warp. So if you're working with a background layer, you'll find that it won't work. Okay, so either make a copy, which is what I normally do. I normally make a copy just in case something goes wrong, or just unlock your background. And yeah, it's under edit, puppet warp. And then once you put, why am I getting all of this crap? Probably because there was an update just recently. Hang on, what did I do? I don't want that. Edit, puppet warp. I think I hit perspective warp, puppet warp, and then Control or Command and R for ruler. And then we can click and drag, and that'll bring our ruler line or our guideline. Okay, and then you just place dots. You place dots on your actual horizon and then click and drag. Okay, so yeah, really cool tool, really cool tool. So yes. Now, time to edit. Oh, that reminds me of a joke, actually. What's a pirate's favorite letter? What's a pirate's favorite letter? I know everyone's going to say R. No, it's the C. There you go. A dad joke for you. I'll have a drink after that. Okay, so once again, all I've done is a basic edit. Now I start to edit, and I'll show you a good little trick. I'll show you a good little trick. No, it's the C. It's the C. Once look, I never go and do a full edit before I stitch all my panos together. Yes, Scotty got it. It's a C. If we press Control or Command and J again, I do this a lot. I make copies. What we can do is then go up to, you can do it with your background, but I'll show you a little trick. If we go up to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, this is where Photoshop was crashing. Bear with me. We could crash. Kath, oh my goodness. She probably heard it twice. She heard it coming out of the door, and then she heard it on the live stream as well. So she got double dad joked. So yeah, and then we're back into Camera Raw. So this is where, you know, we've got access to all of these things. So when, you know, when it comes to a landscapey image like this, I'm going to do two edits. I'm going to edit my sky and my foreground slightly differently. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to look at my sky, and I'm going to get that where I want it. I want that sky to be a bit darker, a bit punchier. Now I can start to see some dots. I'm going to increase our vibrance a bit. Okay, so again, just looking at my sky and press OK, and that's why I make layers. Okay, so then I've got my original photo underneath. Poor Kath, yeah, I know. Got our original layer underneath, and now I've got another layer for just my sky. And my favorite trick, this is the trick that everyone should learn. I'm going to Control and J, make a copy, put my brighter layer on top, do a layer mask, come to channels, hold the Control key, select RGB, and there's a luminosity mask. Luminosity masks are the best things in Photoshop. Don't go and pay for them. There's lots of people that sell plugins. It can all be done in Photoshop. You don't need plugins. The plugins can be handy because they'll have lights 1, 2, 3, darks 1, 2, 3, blah, blah. But once you've created it, you can just use your brush. So now I can go to my brush. It automatically creates a white layer mask when you create a mask. And, you know, if I want to just do my brights 1, I can turn my opacity down. If I want to do all the brights, I can turn my opacity up. So in this case, I'm going to turn it down to around about 25% with a black brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to black out the lightest parts to reveal what's underneath. And because it's a luminosity mask, it's not going to, I'm pointing at the screen. It's not going to touch the dark parts. It's only going to affect those bright parts. And it's the best way of blending. Masks in Lightroom they're cheap and they're nasty. They do the job, but they're not great. I do much prefer Photoshop because then I'm in control and I can paint and then I can merge layers. And so as you'll see from this mask over here, it's only doing the very brightest parts. So if I just get rid of that now, so there it was before and there it is now. Okay, so our foreground has not changed at all. Okay, our foreground's still where we wanted it. We've just darkened down that sky a little bit without doing a gradient and destroying these trees over here. If we do a gradient, bring that down, destroy that. If we do a sky select, you're going to get haloing and all this other yucky stuff. This way is just the best. It just is. Okay, so then now our sky's looking better. Okay, now what I can do, like, you know, I've dealt with the sky now. Like, those rocks are too bright. I want to bring some of the darkness back into those rocks. So again, with that layer mask selected, what I'm going to do is grab my brush again, And again, because the top layer is my brighter layer, the one underneath is the darker one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to come down. I'm going to turn this brush down even more, make my brush smaller, and now I'm going to black out some of that brighter exposure just to make the rocks a bit darker, especially around the edge. So almost adding a bit of a vignette. And you know, if I hadn't been to this beach, I might edit it differently. The fact that I've been to this beach and I know those rocks are black, they are pitch black, these rocks. I'm going to bring that black back in. Okay, so if I'd never been to this beach before and I sort of looked at this image, I might have made them a bit brighter, put a bit of a golden glow on them. Because, you know, I know like the Pinnacles, for example, for anyone who has ever been to the Pinnacles, those rocks are orange. They are bright orange. So unless you've been there and you know what color they are, it's hard to edit other people's images without knowing. But I've been to Bargara many times, and I know those rocks are black, so I'm just slowly painting some of that black back in. Okay, so if I get rid of that, and then there, you can see that I'm not affecting this part over here. Because I'm using a mask, I can just paint in where I want it. Okay, so somewhere around about there, layer, flatten image. And that's about all I would do. I don't think we need to do too much. Like, and that's what I always say. And Linda, you've done well. A good photo is a good photo. You shouldn't have to do much to it. And that's, you'll hear me say that a lot. And the fact that I haven't had to do much to it, apart from stitch it together, it's a good photo. It's a good photo because we don't need to do much. And then, you know, you'd go through and tidy up your dust spots. Finally, maybe just to, let's go to our levels. Okay, and levels are good because levels will show you your white point and your black point. So what I'm going to do is just grab that, bring it right up. And again, the levels is basically your histogram. So if I grab this little dropper right to the far right, bring that in. If I go too far, I'm bringing white in and my histogram is going to blow out. So just by bringing that to the edge, like right there, just it's a bit more accurate than the curves. Like you can do the same thing in the curve, but if we, let me just quickly do a curves layer. It's just harder to see. Like you can grab that and bring it in, but I just find that it's easier to see on the levels. Just the way the levels is, it's, you know, you can actually see it. So I don't know how well you'll see it on YouTube, but yeah, I do like my levels just to get that white point right on the white. And that's about it. Layer, flatten image, and we'll save that. So yeah, I know you wanted me to do a HDR panorama, but yeah, no, stuff HDRs, they're too much work. And you've really got to, you do have to shoot in manual mode and everything has to be exactly the same. So, you know, especially with multiple exposures, you want to make sure that, you know, if you do your exposure for the sky, do 3 exposures for your sky first, and then do 3 exposures for your foreground. Don't sort of do an under and over, then go to the next one, under and over. If you shoot in aperture priority, the camera is going to calculate your exposure. So aperture priority is no good for panos because aperture priority is going to depend on your metering, on what your metering is doing. And that's probably why it's changed. I'm guessing you've probably shot in aperture priority and the camera said, okay, now that we've moved away from the sun, everything's a bit darker, so it's bumped up your shutter speed. Okay, so with panos, manual mode, and then, you know, do your first exposure and do your pano sweep that way, okay, rather than doing bracketed shots, because bracketed shots, again, if you shoot in manual mode, your bracketed shots are fine. But yeah, the way I tend to do it is I'll do my 3 exposures. I'll do my sky exposures first, go click, click, click. Then I'll do my foreground exposures, go click, click, click. So rather than having a darker light, I'll have my 3 darks and then my 3 lights, if that makes sense. But yeah, aperture priority, don't use aperture priority with panos because everything will change. Everything will change depending on your metering mode. And all you need to do is go from the light here to the not so light to the little bit darker, and your shutter speed will change every time you reposition when you're in aperture priority, shutter priority, program mode, any of those modes that rely on your metering system. It's going to change your settings. Okay, so Yeah, I'm guessing you're probably shot in aperture priority, which aperture priority is really good. Watch your histogram. Watch your histogram. Get it all in one shot. If the sun was out, there are, you know, when the sun's set, your dynamic range isn't quite as big. But yeah, it's one of those things where these days, especially these days, I prefer just do it all in one shot. Do it all in one shot. Diane's just downloaded some images for me, and they look a lot bigger. That's better. She's done it. Oh, well, I'm really keen to have a look at these. So yeah, that's that again. Really nice image, Linda. You've done well. So 2 good images to kick off the show. So Pam's were really good. Love those moon shots. Again, good images, and you know, just like even without the moon there, like I'd be happy with that. You know, if you didn't want to go quite so overboard, just make your moon a bit smaller and have it just cover. You know, I just think if you're going to do it properly, as in make your moon big. The other thing to do is just make your moon nice and small just to cover that moon to make it look a bit better. So I'll do that really quickly, actually. I'll just quickly, that way. Yeah, I'll do that. Yes, I just got, let me get Diane's images down. And this is the good thing about live streams. I see them straight away. I've just seen Diane's images come through and I'm downloading them as we speak. And I am going to go here. I'm going to grab those 2. I'm going to copy them. Where do I want to put them? I had them in my photos folder. Discord. Paste them in there. Look at that. I've printed it. Diane. Do you want to see it? Diane won a competition in our Discord. She won a competition and I printed her image for her. So now let me just get those images in. I'll get distracted easily. Let me just go import. Oh, my phone's plugged in. No, I don't want my phone plugged in. I hate when it does this. Hopefully it's not giving away IP addresses and stuff like that. Where have I got them all? On my desktop. There's Kerry's cake. Photos. Discord. And import. There they are. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Okay, we're going to have some fun with them. Yeah, look at that. Look at the difference, though. Let me just go back to the library. Go to the Discord folder. Develop. Let me show you the difference between a RAW and a JPEG. So let's have a look at this RAW. I'm going to do a very quick, I'll just apply, actually, you know what, let's apply the HDR to it because that will push it to its limits. Watch this. I'll push these sliders all the way and I zoom in. Look at that. Look at all the detail in those trees. Okay, that is crisp, Diane. That is really, okay. And now let's look at our JPEG. So I'll do the same thing with the JPEG. Okay, that's, stay away from JPEGs. JPEGs do that. That's why I didn't want to edit it on stream, but now that I've got the real image, look at that. Wow. That's really nice. Okay, now back to Pam. I'm getting distracted. Let's get back to, let me just quickly close Linda's. Yeah, Linda, that's a nice pano. That is a really nice pano. Now that I look at it, I would probably give it a bit more contrast. And that's another thing. Always sit on your images. Do a quick edit first, because I guarantee you, every time you look at it, it's going to look different. Okay. Let me catch up on some chat. It's been a while since I've looked at chat. Let me just check. Changed it, didn't release, learning all the time. I might have to go for a 10-minute drive. Yes, Diane, get down there, Bagara. We'll be up there soon. I want to get back up there. Yeah, they are. Look, they're hard to compose. They can be very messy. A high tide is nice. It's sort of, Bargara is one of those places, a high tide is nice when you can get the waves crashing over those rocks. Can be a bit messy, but yeah, go for a 10-minute drive, especially sunrise, because you get that sunrise over the ocean. That's relatable. I zoom in. Yeah, I zoom in all the time. I'm always zooming, always zooming. Control and 1, control and 0. Kath, I'm glad they helped you, Crystal. I just can't wrap my head around editing, so I'll leave it to the expert. Yeah, I know. It's, look, editing, the more I do it, the more I get bored. I want to be out taking photos. I do. I want to be out taking photos. But yeah, always sit on your images and then revisit them the next day, because that's when you're sort of really going to notice things. Once you revisit them, don't try and bring out too much. Do you know what I mean? Like even there, you know, those rocks could go a bit darker. They could go, you know, I don't mind having black where there is black. So that I don't mind. So yes, we'll save that. Now I'll just quickly edit Pam's. So again, I'm just going to select the moon, hold my shift key, and that'll plus. Okay, so that's just with the magic wand tool. I will do that select and mask again. And it always remembers where you've been. So I've got my shift edge in again as well. So the shift edge will sort of make it nice. Let's drag that moon over there. We don't need to keep that. So if you do want it to look real, just simply click and drag your moon, Control and T, and just get it the same size. Okay, if you want that detail in your moon, get it this roughly the same size. But one thing to be mindful of, just got to remember that moon is going to be super bright. So I would do an adjustment on that moon. So if you press Control or Command and L, will bring up your levels, and then just add some white into it. Just brighten it up, because it is going to be bright. Okay, doesn't matter if it blows out a little bit, then it's going to look a little bit more natural if you want to keep it that same size. Okay, possibly even drop your opacity just a little bit, just so you got a bit of detail in there. So drop your opacity. If you drop it all the way down, just bring it up until your moon starts to blend in. So probably about 60 or 70%. Okay, then it's going to look like a real moon. If you start to see edges around it, sometimes that's just when Photoshop, you might see edges around it. If you zoom in, if those edges are gone, you're right. Okay, and layer, flatten image. So I didn't think to ask that. Did you want it to look real, or did you want it to look like a photoshopped moon? So that's how you make it look a bit more realistic. Just get it over the top, drop the opacity, but you don't use your blending mode. If you use your blending mode, you will just see the moon underneath. Okay, because either lighten or screen will bring through the brightest part. Okay, so if you, and that's why you clean up your background in the other ones. If you just want your moon to be natural looking, like the same size and everything, just slap it straight over the top and then just drop the opacity down a little bit, and that'll give it a more realistic looking moon. I'll just save that as well. Now let me show you Diane's print. Come up nice. It did come up nice. I haven't put it in matte board yet. I have got matte board that I'm going to put it in. Hopefully it comes up all right on the phone. I've got to wait for the stream to catch up because I can't really see yet, but there's Diane's print. So she was voted the winner. We had that was the birds in flight. So we did a birds in flight stream competition. So everyone submitted their bird in flight and Diane won the votes. So that's another thing with the Discord. We will hold competitions in the Discord. So hopefully that worked. The stream's like 5 minutes behind. Hopefully it wasn't a glowy mess. But I will put a matte board around it and it will come a bit more like that. So it's going to come in a matte board with the plastic. So it's not just a print, it's a fancy print. So join the Discord and you might win one. Join the Discord, you might win a print. I won't sign it because it's not mine. But yeah, I'll just I'll wait for that to catch up a bit. Now, sorry, Ultimate, I'm making you wait. I'm making Ultimate wait. I really want to look at Diane's pictures. These I've got to go straight to this one. This one's really, really nice. Oh, I could spend an hour on these, Diane. I really could. I could spend a long time on these. Oh, wow. That's... God, I want to go over there now. Look at that. Let me reset it. Perfectly exposed. It's perfect. You've done well. You've exposed for your highlights. There's just the... Yeah, it's perfect. And same with this one. I could even tell from the JPEG. Highlights are perfect. Foreground's perfect. Everything is just perfect. It's good that people actually listen to me when they take their photos. It's good. It's good to see. So is that a train? That is a train, isn't it? That is a long exposure with the wow. Far out. That is really good. That is really good. I might go quiet here just so I can have a look at what's happening. My stream is a long way behind. Let me just catch up. Thanks, guys. I wouldn't want to edit the fog either. Yeah, the fog. I spent a couple of hours on that fog. That was... yeah, the fog. I've got a good idea, though, and I'll explain that to you. It's not so much... It's something that you would probably think about doing next time, and I'll kind of explain that. Nothing wrong with the image, but just something to think about next time. Okay, let's have a look. God, this is a good photo, Diane. Look at all that detail in the sky. See, that's what we couldn't get in the JPEG. Look at that. Wow. I've got to have a bit of a look at your settings. 30 seconds, the 24 to 120. Perfect. It's just perfect. It is. It's just perfect. Okay, so with an image like this, yeah, this is long exposure territory. I'm guessing the sun was just to the right of the frame. I'm guessing the sun was coming in from the right-hand side because I can see the trees being lit up a little bit. Again, without being there, it's hard to edit other people's photos without being there and seeing what's happening. So I'll do my best. I will do my best. I'm going to bring down my highlights just a little bit. Let's just get a bit of that sky back for starters. Lift my shadows just to, wow. I'm jealous. Okay, let's deal with our sky first. I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this into Photoshop because I don't like Lightroom. Just give it a bit of I'm just looking at my sky for now. Again, without being there and knowing, this is one thing that is a bit hard with editing. Without actually being there and knowing how it looked, I'm just guessing. I'm pretending I was there and seeing it. Wow, this is really nice. Wow, the colors are great. Yes, I did print it myself. I did print that myself. It came up really nice. It did. It came up really nice. So yeah, once you see it, yeah, it did come up nice. Okay, so that's my sky exposure. Then what I'm going to do, I'm not using my masking. Today's going to be more Photoshoppy. The stream is just caught up now. So I'm seeing the print. I could have made that bigger, but yeah, you get the idea. You got an award-winning photo. You've got a Neil Medlin Photography Discord award-winning photo. So the very first. Now I'm going to do my foreground. Okay, and what I'm going to do, wow. Too much magenta in that. I want greens in there. Let's warm it up a bit more. Somewhere around about there. Wow, that's really nice. That is such a cool shot. That's really good. That is really. Don't enter this into any of my competitions. This will win. Although, yeah, no, look, they're all pretty good. I think it's just mountain ranges. I very rarely get to see mountain ranges, so it's a little bit exciting. All right, what we're going to do, let's blend in that sky first. And again, I am going to use my exposure blending technique. I like to make copies. I like to, I'll show you why soon, because what I'm going to do is blend my sky. I'm going to have my lighter exposure on top, layer mask, channels, control, select RGB, and that's going to select my sky. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I want a nice big brush. I'm going to crank it up to about 35%. And I'm just going to give it a few little passes. Okay, so luminosity masks are good because it's not touching the mountain range. It's just sort of bringing in the sky, but it just does a better blend than the Lightroom masking. Like I said, Lightroom masking's quick and nasty. Like, look at that. There's before and there's after. So we've still got all that detail in the mountain range, but now we've got that sky in there as well. That's really nice. Yeah, look, I could spend a lot of time on this, to tell the truth. Okay, just looking. I kind of like the cool mountain. So this is why I do multiple layers, because what I can do now, okay, even though I've blended in my sky, now the foreground just does look a bit too bright. So I can just take down my exposure and get it roughly where I want it. Okay, so I can either take this layer down to make it darker, or I can grab this layer and take that down to make my sky brighter. Okay, in this case, I think having it a bit darker for our foreground, you know, because I can see it's a long exposure. It was dark. I can tell it was dark. We've got a long exposure. You know, it's blue hour. So I do want it to be dark. I'm just trying to picture being there. It would have been dark. We can see the lights on the train, so we know it is fairly dark. So I'm just going to sort of try and balance that out as best as I can. All right, so that's my exposure blend. That's got my sky and my foreground kind of balanced out nicely. Okay, so this is where I would start to do some more local adjustments. What I might do is I'll go to my camera raw filter. Yeah, the fog, the colors. Yes, thank you to everyone who voted for Diane. That was a really good photo. Yeah. Yes, everyone waits for the train. I could imagine people just sitting there waiting, hoping it doesn't run late. Okay, so now I've made a copy. So now I can do whatever I want to this copy, because I've got my original still there underneath. So what I'm going to do is bump up the contrast for starters. Let's just make it very contrasty. Add some vibrance. See, now that I'm adding vibrance, I'm seeing a lot of blue in the mountain ranges, which I'm not too keen on. I don't think I can do a quick edit on this. I need to really spend time with this. I really do. I want to paint light onto those mountain tops. There's lots I want to do. Let's just get that sort of there. Okay. Yeah, a bit too contrasty now, so I'm just going to dial that back a bit. Somewhere around about there. I like to zoom out. Sometimes just by zooming out, you'll sort of notice things that just look a bit off. So that's one little tip. Zoom out every now and then. Get it to like a thumbnail size. Things will stand out. It might sound weird that you're looking at it small, but trust me, zoom all the way out. Like composition-wise, it's just perfect. It's just perfect. Okay, so yeah, this is where I'm just gonna flatten them. You know, probably should be working with smart objects with this one. Then I can go back into the original raw file and play around with it. So something like this, what I would do is grab my curves, and then I'm going to bring my curves up a little bit. And you know what? We might even grab the red channel and bring the red channel up a bit. Invert that mask. And then what I want to do is just paint some of that light onto the mountain range. So this is where another luminosity mask would be good actually. So if you hold Control and RGB, that will get the lights. If you hold Control and Shift RGB, that'll grab our darks. Or is it the other one? Oh God, it's been a while. Is it Control and Alt for the darks? I can't remember which one it was. Probably because I did a black layer mask. Doesn't matter. What we're going to do is, I'm just going to grab a white brush now. So I've blacked out that brighter layer. I'm going to grab my white brush, make it nice and small, make it very faint. And I'm just going to paint in a little bit, just wherever the light is. I'm copying the light. I'm not adding light to it. I'm just enhancing the light that's already there. So that mountain range has got some light just coming, just painting some brighter spots where those bright spots are. Yeah, a luminosity mask would have been better. Okay, so again, I don't know how well you're going to see that on YouTube, but yeah, we've just sort of enhanced those where the light is hitting the side of the mountains. Okay, we could probably even bring some down here, like these yellows. Go across the top of these trees. So wherever I'm seeing light on these trees, I'm bringing up that light even more. Okay, even just get it like there's a little bit over there as well. So kind of like some dodging and burning. Okay, so it's not so much, you know, we're not adding light, we're just enhancing the light that's already there. And that's where some people get confused with editing. They try and add in light that's not there. What I'm doing is I'm enhancing the light that's not there. Because you got to remember, our raw files, they're going to be flat, especially once we start bringing down highlights and lifting shadows. We're flattening everything down. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking that flat file and starting to bring back some of that light where I want it. Okay, so then, yeah, sort of bringing that light back onto the mountains, bring it into, you know, on the edges of the trees where I can see it. Leave the darks fairly dark. Yeah, this is a sort of image I would spend a lot of time. I don't think a quick edit will do it justice. But in saying that, it's a good image. You don't need to do much to it. You don't need to do much to it. Probably give it a little bit of a curve. So yeah, just by selecting that red channel, then you're only affecting the reds. So if you just want to lift the reds in the image, same with the greens. If you just want to lift your greens, you can do that, which we'll get to the greens in Ultimates Photo soon. Let's just reset that. Give it a bit of an overall S-curve. Just make it a bit more punchy. Yeah, and that's probably too punchy. God, I could spend hours on this. I don't want to do a quick edit on this. I don't think I'll do it justice. That's a really nice photo, Diane. That is really good. There's lots we can do to it, but it's all about just doing subtle adjustments. We don't want to, you know, bring in light and bring in, you know, too much. Just nice little subtle adjustments on what we already had. So that is really good. Now the other one, let's have a look at this other image. How long have we been going for? I don't want to go for too long. An hour and a half. Oh God, I talk crap, don't I? An hour and a half. And the stream's holding out. I bet you it's going to crash when we get to Ultimates Photos. So this one here, again, we're just going to reset it back to default. White balance, straight away, white balance. So this is another one, okay, you know, the light's over here to the right. I'm just going to warm it up a bit. It does feel a little bit too cool. Again, I wasn't there, so it's hard to tell. I'm just kind of going by the color of the trees. Let's take that down a little bit. Let's just get some detail back in those trees. I'm just trying to base my white balance. Again, it's hard when I wasn't there to remember. I'm just winging it. I'm just trying to get those trees so they've got like a slight glow to them. Okay, and again, this is where a luminosity mask to bring back that sky. Let's do this one in Lightroom very quickly. Again, don't need to do much to it. It's already a good photo. So if we select our luminance range, I'm going to select the brightest part, grab that slider, take that one up, bring this one down until I see it starting to eat away at those trees. So probably about there somewhere. Then we'll just bring down our highlights a little bit. I'll just bring down the whites a little bit as well. Exposure a little bit. I just want to see what's in that sky. Wow, there's lots in that sky. That's good. Let's cool it down a bit. And again, very similar to what we did before, we're going to add the light where the light is. So the light is definitely coming out the top of the trees to the right. So I'm going to create a mask. I'm going to get a radial gradient. I'm going to bring that over here because I'm guessing this is where the light's coming from this side. Bring it up there. I'm going to have that light sort of shining across the scene. So I'm going to warm it up a little bit. Warm it up just a tad. Maybe bring down the highlights just a little bit more. Add a bit of a glow to it. Okay, and then with that mask, I am actually going to subtract. Now, I know this, you can, let me try it. I haven't really played with this. There's a new option in here that lets you select parts of the landscape. Again, it's going to use AI. The stream might crash. I said I wasn't going to use these things. Let me just check how the stream's looking. My mouse just froze. Yep, no, it's... I'm deleting it. Yeah, it's everything just went very slowly. I'm just gonna not use the AI stuff. But yeah, what I would normally do is grab that radial gradient, bring it in from this side, and there is a new option to select in your landscape. I think there's options for trees, mountains, rocks, grass, roads. There's all different options. So what I would do is like subtract the trees, so then the glow's kind of coming through. I need to see it to do it though. It's one of those images that I know if I want to do what I want to do to it, I know my stream's going to crash. It's already going slow. That's not doing anything. But yeah, another fun you don't need to do much to. It looks really nice. The white balance, yeah, see it's Lightroom's frozen. Lightroom's just frozen on me because I tried to use an AI thing. This always happens. I touch the AI stuff and then all of a sudden we crash. Lightroom's not responding. I'm going to close it. Let me reopen it quickly. How's the laptop feeling? Yeah, it's pretty hot. We will wind it up soon. I haven't got the Ultimates photos yet. Oh, it's going to be a late night. Sorry. Lightroom. AI. Get rid of AI. Crap. The light was actually boring that afternoon. Oh, you don't tell me that because I would have made it. I would have made it not so boring. Now Lightroom's not opening. I've learned so much tonight. Not sure if it will sink in though. We'll rewatch. Yeah, it's look little bits at a time. That's how I started in Photoshop and Lightroom. Just little bits of a time, and then eventually you kind of build it up. And you'll get through that stage where you try and do too much to your images, and we all go through it. We all go through that stage where you try and do too much. And then you start taking crappy photos thinking, I'll just Photoshop it or I'll just fix it in Lightroom. You get lazy and you take crappy photos and then you just think, I'll fix it later. Everyone in here is on the right track. Everyone in here is getting good photos in camera. And that's why I don't need to do much to them. Okay, I don't need to do much to them because they're already good. And that's the sign of a good photographer is, you're keeping the most important things under control. So number one, keeping that sky under control. You've got plenty of detail in the shadows. Okay. Yeah, good. All right. I'm going to get onto ultimates because I have some ideas for ultimate. Let me get there. I'll save the other one because I know Kerry couldn't make tonight. She's at a meeting. She's with her photography club. Okay, ultimate. Foggy photos. I really struggled, and Ultimate sent these to me because she struggled as well and didn't know what to do. So what I'm going to do is, the first thing I'm going to do is do an edit on it. This is what I would do if this was my photo. So we'll do that first, and then I will give you some ideas for next time. And now that I've seen this, I will probably do the same thing. Okay, so as it is, let's edit it. First thing I want to do, let's get Tinky looking a bit more contrasty. I'm just going to do my Adobe landscape. Now I have already played with these, so I've got a sort of a fair idea. What I'm going to do, is this select going to work? I'm too scared to touch it. I'm too scared to touch it on stream. I want to select Tinky and just powered by AI. All right, I'm going to do this the cheat way. I'm going to take it into Photoshop. I don't trust Lightroom. I don't trust Lightroom at the moment when it's doing its AI selection. I know Photoshop will still do the AI selection, but what I'm going to do is, just so it's not working so hard, I'm just going to dumb this down to 4,000 pixels, resolution at 72. You'll still see what I'm doing if I can type. 72, 4,000 pixels. This will just make the editing not so hectic. And look, you're not going to notice it on a YouTube stream. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our subject first, because that's the first thing I want to do. Tinky is the star of the show. Let's get her looking nice first. Let's come up to here. We're going to select and mask. So we'll see how well it's selected. And look, Photoshop does a really good job. If we change that to black and white, look at that. Photoshop does a good job at selecting and masking. Now, I can take my shift edge back to 0. We don't need to shift the edge in too much. New layer with layer mask. That's the important part. Okay, so now we have Tinky. And what I'm going to do, I want to bring in that rock. So I'm going to grab a white brush. We've blacked out the whole background. So the white brush is going to undo what we blacked out. We're going to bring that rock in because I like that rock, especially the greens on it. The greens look really cool. Okay, so I'm just winging it. I'm just sort of getting that rock in. Okay, and again, you can kind of, depending on how fussy you want to get sort of as close to the edge as possible. Okay, so now that we've got just Tinky selected, what I can do is if I go to my camera raw filter, knowing that only Tinky is selected, I can then start to do some contrast, bring down my blacks a little bit. I'm just looking at Tinky because once we go back into Photoshop, it's only going to affect Tinky. Let's just give her fur a little bit of texture. Now, I would probably run it through the denoise as well, simply because of the fog. Fog makes it look noisy. So if you're worried about how noisy it looks, run it through the AI denoise. But again, you're not going to notice it on YouTube. Okay, I'm going to bring down those blacks even more. I really want Tinky to look nice and punchy. So somewhere around about there. Lots of contrast. Okay. Good. So now we've still got our foggy background and we've just selected Tinky and this rock to make them punchy. Okay, because that's sort of what we want. We want those two to be nice and bright. So there's before. Look how flat it looks now, and that's after. Okay, so that's the first thing I would do, is just get our subject looking nice. Then what I would do Okay, that looks pretty good. If anything, I might just dial it back a little bit just so it doesn't look quite as aggressive. Okay. And then I'm going to go to layer and flatten image. I always flatten my images, just, yeah, I just do. Now what I'm going to do is flatten it, then make a copy. Don't ask me why. It's just the way I do it. I'm going to darken down our background. I'm going to make this very dark. Very dark. Then what I'm going to do is just hide that for a second. Again, I'm going to select our subject again. And this time I do want it to just select Tinky. We'll just do another quick select and mask. It'll make sense soon. It'll make sense soon. You'll be thinking, you just did that, didn't you? And yes, I did. Okay, so now, and then if we click and drag, okay, so now Tinky is just selected. And what I'm going to do is grab my mask. Going to grab a white brush, turn it down very low, and then just slowly start to bring in some of that background. By having the brush nice and low, it just brings it in subtly until she doesn't look like she's been cut and paste. So essentially what we're doing is a vignette, but by doing it with a layer mask, we're controlling where the vignette is. So if you were to just do a vignette, it's going to just go around the edges or the middle. Like this way, I want that fog going across the middle of the frame, and I can change the size of my brush. Okay, so I'm just going to get it sort of coming out. So the vignette sort of over the top and over the bottom. So again, if I hide all, there's our original image. And then just adding that vignette in. So I'm making it look more dark and gloomy because that's what it's like when it's foggy. When it's foggy, it is kind of dark and gloomy. And by doing another layer where we're only selecting our subject, we're isolating our subject from the whole thing going darker. Okay, so, and then finally, now that we've got her kind of blended, I'm going to grab another curves adjustment. Now we're going to add a bit of an S curve to make it a bit more punchy. And then finally, let's just flatten that. And then finally, we're going to do an Orton effect. Let me just, this is where it's a good idea to see. If I scroll out now, those edges are just not quite right. I'm doing this too quickly. Let me quickly do that again. I'm just going to select, I'm trying to rush through this because we're going for so long. But this is what I'd do. Basically darken down our background and make it a bit more dark and moody type thing. Okay, I don't want it to affect that rock. I do want it just to affect the background. And then with this image, we even do Control and U and just dark again. See, it's only darkening down the background. So I'm just going to darken down those edges a little bit. About there. And then drop the opacity a little bit. Somewhere around about there. And then finally, we're going to do a bit of an Orton effect, because the Orton effect will kind of enhance the glow. See, those edges are too dark for me now. I've overcooked it, but they're hard, these foggy ones. I did the same thing on the subject, but I lost the details in the blacks and couldn't find the right balance between the two. Yeah, it is. It's one of those, it's just hard. It's hard. Okay, so Orton effect. Screen, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, whatever megapixel your camera is, so we'll go roughly 30, and then image, apply image. Okay, and then that'll add the Orton effect, which enhances the glow. Okay, so then, if you want to mask out the Orton effect over Tinky, which is what I think I did in my original edit, so go back to a black brush, crank it up a bit, and then if we just sort of take that autumn effect off Tinky, especially the brightest parts. Okay, again, doing this very quick. But then that sort of adds that glow to the background, and kind of you can kind of see those rocks disappearing a bit more. So that's roughly what I did. Basically, just darken down the background, select your subject and work on the background separately. And then finally, what I did was I brought out those greens. So I've made another layer, filter, camera raw filter. There's lots of different ways of doing it. Camera raw filter is just like a quick and easy way. Come down to your color mixer, go to saturation, lift the greens. Okay, just sort of lift the greens up. In that case, I can lift them all the way and it's not affecting any other parts. Even bring up the yellows a little bit. And then if we come to luminance, do the same thing. Lift those greens and that'll really boost the greens. Lift our yellows. Okay, and because I've created a layer, okay, if we find that it does start to go into Tinky at all, okay, what I can do is just do a mask. If I hold the Alt key and hit mask, it'll do a black mask. And then with a white brush, we can just sort of paint in that green. So then it really is only affecting where we want it. Okay, so that's kind of what I came up with. Just, yeah, darkening down the background. Now on to, and I'll finish it up with this one. G'day, Kerry, how are you? I'm still going. How long have we been going for? Nearly 2 hours. Bit of a long stream, this one. So welcome. Oh, you've missed some good photos. There's some good photos in here. We kicked it off with Pam's moon shots of the Urangan Pier, which were really good. And then Linda's shots at Bagara, another epic sunrise. Diane's photos are epic. And now we're on to, we've had some really good photos tonight. It's been good. It's been good. I'll get to yours next time because we're going to run out of time. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do. And I'd spent a few hours trying to work out what I would do. And that's kind of where I came to. But in saying that, I think next time it's foggy. Let me reopen this. I'm going to keep it like that. Let's keep it like that. Next time it's foggy, what I think we should do, because I'm going to be out there next time it's foggy, is have something in our background. Because like a lot of people might look at this and just think the sky's blown out. Okay, she's overexposed, she's blown the sky out, there's no detail there. That's what people are going to think because there's nothing in the background to show that it's foggy. It's just kind of a clear sky. So if we cheat, we're going to Photoshop. We're going to actually Photoshop. Now I'm going to go into this little folder here, some of my older photos, because I have one. I reckon if we take her, have some green in the background is kind of where I'm going. Now, a few people would have seen this in the Discord already. Let me get rid of that signpost in the background first. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I am going to blur it, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, because we want this to be in the background blurred. Okay, we do want this in the background blurred. So I'm just going to blur it so we can we can see that there's some trees and stuff in the background. So somewhere around about there. Okay, and then Control and U, the letter U, and we're going to just make it foggy by bringing our brightness up. It's going to make it look foggy. So I just think having something in our background is definitely going to help. It's going to give it sort of more of a look that, yes, it's foggy because we can see that the trees in the background are foggy. And that's kind of what I came down to. I thought, oh, if we could do it over again, take it somewhere where there's some trees or some mangroves or something in our background, so we can see that, because yeah, without like just the plain sky, there's not much you can do with it. There's not much you can do with a plain sky. Select subject and watch this. This comes up all right. Again, I'm going to do it quickly because it's getting past my bedtime. I'm talking too much. Okay, selected mask. The Photoshop selected mask does a really good job. You can do this in Lightroom as well. I've tried hitting this refine hair. For some reason, it doesn't work that well on dogs. Works fine with people, but yeah, I've tried hitting that refine hair. It doesn't seem to work that great. At any time, pause the video to have a look where that is. That's kind of where I have it most of the time. Does a good job. Okay, and again, with that layer mask, what we'll do is we'll grab our white brush, turn it up to 100% because we want that rock back. And what we're going to do is slowly blur our background. And look at that. It almost looks like a real photo. So by blurring our background and then just slowly start to bring in some of the real foreground until you get that nice blur between the two. Okay, and now you can kind of see that Tinky's cut out. So what we'll do is we'll get this layer again and just bring the opacity of this one down until we can just see that background creeping in. Okay, so then I think having something in the background is going to make a big difference. I think like having no sky behind the subject, it's just white. Okay, you've got to go either two ways. You've got to go for the complete what do they call it, the negative space, and have just complete whiteness. So if you had just the rock, if you had Tinky on the rock and then completely white behind it, that would be one option. But then the fog would have to be really thick. The other option is to have something in the background just so you can see that there's fog there. Okay, so that's kind of where I'd go with that one. I think just, I won't do a full edit, but I think that's more, yeah, I think having something behind her, still shoot at that shallow depth of field, so you're both blurring the background and it's foggy, would be the go. But yeah, I tried it and tried with that other one, and yeah, all I came up with was like sort of having that dark background. Did I say? I didn't even save it. I've probably got it saved somewhere. But yeah, having that dark background was all I kind of came up with. And then you'd sort of do a similar thing with this. We'd go, you know, bring out your greens. So camera raw filter, add some contrast, bring down the blacks a bit, bring up those greens a bit, and that'll enhance the greens in the background as well. Actually, we want saturation. Luminance doesn't really need to come up. Now, I know a lot of people do like to add the vignette through here. But yeah, yeah, you get more control. You can control your vignette, but yeah, I just prefer to do it with a layer mask. Create a curve, bring down the curve, black brush, okay, and again, just give it the Orton effect. That's probably the only thing that I kind of found that worked well, was using that Orton effect. I've even got it saved as a preset. Okay, apply the Orton effect. That'll give it that glowy look, and then just dial it back. Just dial it back a little bit, and it'll give it that nice glowy. It does. Orton effect is really good for fog. Orton effect will make your fog a bit more glowy. Okay, I think in the one I put on Discord, I put a slight tint of yellow through the back as well. I did do another layer where I separated Tinky again, just enhanced Tinky with some texture, sharpened her up a bit, gave her a little bit more contrast. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Like they're good photos, but it's just, yeah, editing them was a bit tricky. Lastly, let's go to this one, because this one's really cool as well. Like, they're all really good. This one is this one works better as more of a negative space type thing. So see here, we've got nothing in the background. So that kind of works well. This rock off to the side is a bit annoying. So what I did, if you hit your crop tool, hit X, X will take it into portrait mode. Get it in nice and tight. Get Tinky right in the middle, about there. Okay, add a little bit of contrast. And again, like all the other photos, you don't need to do much to it because it's already good. We don't need to do much to it. Okay, so in this case, I'd embrace the negative space. Embrace it. The only thing that I kind of noticed in this that did annoy me a little bit was that rock sort of to the side there. But that's where we have Photoshop. We have Photoshop. We can go like that. We can go Control J, Control T, and create a perflection. Okay, and then, you know, if you don't want it quite so perfect, go to Filter, Blur. And in this case, Motion Blur actually worked well. And if we change our Motion Blur to up and down, because if we have a look at our original photo, let me just Motion Blur that up a little bit. Okay, you can kind of see that the water is moving up and down. You can kind of see that Tinky's fur is... So that's when I'm going to blur something, if I'm going to... I don't do it, but if I'm going to do it, I try and get our reflection to look similar to the reflection. Okay, and then just, yeah, that sort of bit through the middle was just a bit distracting, where that just makes it a little bit nicer. And then, you know, to get your reflection looking better, take a little bit of the color out of it. Okay, and again, just sort of toggle backwards and forwards to get your reflection looking more like the top without it looking too fake. But yeah, look, I wouldn't do it. I'd just leave it as it is. I would probably crop it that way. I think the other way, the other option, if you did want to go this way, let's just reset that. Reset that. Unlock that. Maybe go for a pano and just get it sort of... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like, they're good. You don't need to do anything to them. I think that's the problem. We're trying to do something to them where they don't really need anything done apart from the basics. Give it a bit of contrast. You know, if anything, turn your clarity down and just go with the fog. Make it foggy. Turn your clarity down. Turn your texture down. Bring your whites up even. Just embrace the fog. Take your blacks down just to make it a bit more punchy. Yeah, I think that was kind of, yeah, I think just trying to do too much to it where, you know, there's before and there's before and there's after. Just making it just a little bit more punchy, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know if I helped you too much there, Ultimate. But yeah, this one here, I think, yeah, having something in the background, I think that would probably be the go. And I've learnt from this as well. I think that if I was to go out on a foggy day, because I thought of going out and getting my tree on a foggy day, but then after seeing this, I'm like, well, my tree's going to be the same. It's just going to be a white background. It's just going to be in a white background. It's going to be nothing. Okay, I'd probably have to go black and white with that tree. And this is, you know, I tried doing it in black and white, but yeah, don't know. It's just, yeah, good photo. I wouldn't bother trying to over edit it. I think just kind of keep them where they are. Just, yeah, maybe the white balance looks a bit green. Just subtle adjustments. Make it all about Tinky. Now, let me just quickly chat. I haven't been reading the chat. I've been trying to push through quickly. There was trees behind me at Issa Park. And I was hoping for Slash's incoming tide against the rocks. I did think about the trees, but she would have had to been close to them to see it. Yeah, and then when it's that foggy, it is hard. You sort of... Yeah, I know, because it's the same with the Urangan Pier. You want to get all those lights in the fog, but then you get the first two lights and all the rest disappear. You kind of need that fog that you can still see through. Like this is it's a thick fog. It is a thick fog, so it just sort of makes everything white. And I do have about 100 photos in this one pose on a few different rocks, different compositions, some portrait, some looking towards the left, right. Yeah. But yes, that rock was annoying. This one here, that rock is probably the only thing, you know, and that's just me being fussy. I like my clean shots. I like these ones are good. This one I like. This is my favorite of the lot. Like that, you don't need to do anything. Just bring out the greens a little bit. That one's fine. Don't need to do much. Again, that one, you know, negative space. Just embrace the negative space. Just probably even just, yeah, bring it all up. Just take your blacks down. Just make it a bit more punchy. And you can kind of see, because you're shooting at, what's this one at, 124 mil, there's going to be a lot of fog between you and Tinky. So that fog's going to make the whole image look soft. So yeah, maybe next time get up closer to Tinky and get her closer to a background. So then you sort of, you eliminate the fog between you and the subject, and then you enhance the fog between the subject and the background. But yeah, I've never shot anything in fog. I have done the pier in fog. I've done a few things in fog, but landscapes are easy. Landscapes are easy in fog. Dogs and people aren't so easy because they can get hidden. I'll have to find the pier on a foggy day. Yeah, I'll say definitely, but who knows when it's going to be foggy. By the time I see it, it's foggy. I get down there and it's too late and it's cleared. So that's it. I'm going to wind it up because we've gone for over 2 hours. So fantastic images, everyone. This was quite enjoyable playing with everyone's photos. There was a lot of information in there, and I felt like I was sort of getting through it very quickly. So just to do a quick recap, we had Diane's photos, just location, location, location. That's the key, isn't it? A good location, and she's just done it perfectly. Same with Pam, like perfect, like just well framed. Everything is the color, everything about that is just nice. Like the colors and everything, even before I photoshopped the moon in. Just, yep, perfectly framed, good, love it. We added the moon in, we added a super moon into this one. But again, good photos to start with, and that is the key. Start with a good photo. Once we open up the Discord to some more randos, and we get some really crappy photos to try and edit, it'll happen. It'll happen. We've been lucky so far. Everyone who's submitted photos has submitted good photos, so it makes my job easy. And yeah, just like a panorama, like that's the sky. I love greens, reds, blues. They're all my favorite colors in one image. Love it. Yeah, shame we couldn't get the other ones. I'm guessing there was more of the beach in the other ones, just to get that even more. But that one we did our puppet warp. I've got one of Kerry's in there. We'll save that for next time. I've got some plans with this one. Again, really good shot. Basically, I'm going to eliminate stuff, and yeah, well, I've got some good ideas with that one. So we'll deal with that because that is a really good shot. Like, I wouldn't even take this bird out of the background. I think it looks good with both of them in it. So that one is very good. So yes, well done everybody. Yeah, well done everybody. So yeah, it was good to play with other people's images and not my own. And it's hard. It's hard editing images when you don't know what to do with them. So hopefully I gave you a few ideas, even if you just take little bits and pieces. And that's what it's all about. It's, you know, I'm not saying do this to your images. I'm just, you know, here's some ideas, here's some things to try. Yeah, but I think like as soon as I did this edit and put the background in it, I thought, wow, that looks really good with a background. So I think, yeah, getting a background in the shot next time, which has me having second thoughts about my tree. My tree, I wanted my tree in the fog, but I have doubts now because it'll just be a white sky. It will be just a white sky. I'd have to go black and white, I think, with my tree. So that's it. We're done. we've gone for a long time. I know these weren't my best work, but I need to get the most help. I have plenty of tips for next time shooting, editing. Thank you. Yeah, look, and you know, you have so many good photos. If you ever get ones like this that you're stuck with, like sometimes you're going to have photos that you just think, I can't do anything with them. Rather than keep trying to do something with them, move on to your other photos, because, you know, you're at that stage where you've got too many good photos. And if you didn't have all those other good photos, you'd be trying to work on this. And I'm the same, and I'm sure everyone's the same, where they have a photo that they really like, but then get it next time. It gives you that, it gives you a goal to, okay, this one didn't work. Next time I'm going to go out, I'm going to do it differently. Rather than keep trying to fix something that, you know, doesn't sort of grab you straight away. So yeah, like with this one, I struggled trying to edit. Just, you know, like it's a good photo as it is. The more I edited it, the more I felt like I was ruining it. The more I sort of spent time on it, I thought, I'm trying to do things that aren't there. I think darkening it down, I think the vignette thing was the only one that I was kind of happy with. Like doing that vignette, make Tinky stand out. Tinky's the star of the show. Make her pop. The background, it's fog. There's not much you can do with it. But yeah, you've got too many other good photos to worry about spending time on ones that give you the shits. And I know I've been there, I've done it. I've taken photos where I want it to work. I want to make this photo work, and sometimes they just don't. Sometimes they just, you just think, oh no, I've spent long enough on it. Move on. Let's go and get some more photos. Get photos like this. I'm going to show everyone because this photo is bloody awesome. Share your photos. Let me click and drag this over here. Get more photos like this. That's, you know, you get a photo like that and then you think, you know, I'm not going to go out in the fog anymore. That is an awesome shot. So that's one of ultimates. That is a good shot. That is a good shot. So yeah, that's it. That's it. We're done. So again, very good photos, everyone who submitted photos. Well done. Good job. And I look forward to getting some more. I don't know how often I'll do this. I'll try and do it. I don't like editing. I want to be out taking photos. Hopefully my next live stream will be out in the wild taking photos. I might do it once a month maybe. We might get some viewer requests once a month. Yeah, but that was good. It was good. All right, that's it. I've got a side dry sore throat. I'm going. So thank you again to everyone who popped in. Thank you for submitting the photos. For anyone new that might be watching this later, join the Discord. There's a link in the description. But if you haven't ever commented on any of my videos, you don't follow me on Instagram, you don't follow me on Facebook, I'm probably not going to accept it straight away. Okay, I want to know who you are before I let you into the Discord. So leave comments, jump in the live streams, have a chat with people. I know there's a few people out there that do watch them. I've got quite a few overseas viewers that I know quite well. Roger, if you're watching it, jump in the Discord. I want to play with some of your images too. Yeah, so that's it. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm going to go and have a nap. All right, thanks again, and I will see you all soon. Hopefully back out in the field. I'll save that. All right, see you all.